Skeletal system. This system, we are going to learn about the bones, cartilages, tendons associated with it, the structure and function of it, which is anatomy and physiology of the skeletal system. This system is widely considered to be a boring system, really. There is, not so much excitement about this system. But I want to make you understand that this system is extremely important and our very existence would not be possible without this system. The skeletal system includes bones of the skeleton, cartilages, ligaments, and other connective tissue that stabilize and connect the bones. So let's understand the functions, the basic functions of the skeletal system. So if I ask you, even before you look at the PowerPoint, can you tell me some of the basic functions of the skeletal system? I'm pretty sure most of you will be giving me the first example or first function, which is support. It holds, the skeletal system provides a structural support for the entire body. Individual bones or group of bones can provide a framework to connect soft tissues, organs, organ systems together. The other very important function of the skeletal system is protection. What kind of protection? There are several organs in our body which are extremely sensitive to any sort of stress, any sort of damage. They are so important that without their proper protection, we would not be able to function properly. And of which some are listed there: brain, spinal cord, heart, lungs. You can see a list of these organs are listed, but there are so many other organs which are equally important and need protection. Skeletal structure surrounds many soft tissues and organs. The ribs, for example, protect the heart and the lungs. The skull encloses the brain, and the vertebrae shields the spinal cord. Movement. Very, very important. I'm pretty sure all of you understand the concept of leverage and movement. While you're hearing this presentation, can you pick up something far from you? And you'll understand the extent at which the limb movement is required. This extension of your arm to pick something is at the expense of the skeletal system. The muscular system is involved, but remember, the skeletal system is underneath the skeletal muscular system, which helps the entire process to happen. Many bones function as levers that can change the magnitude and direction of the forces generated by the skeletal muscles. Next comes electrolyte balance. Storage of minerals and lipids. Bones are made up of calcium. Calcium is most abundant mineral in the human body. Calcium salts of bone are a valuable source of calcium in our body. We need a normal homeostasis in our body of calcium in order to be functioning properly. In addition, the bones also store energy in the form of lipids in the yellow bone marrow. Lipids and adipose tissue, for example, fats, are present in there, which also help to suffice the energy requirement. Then comes one of the most important ones is blood formation. Red blood cells, RBC, white blood cells, WBC, and other blood elements are all produced in the red bone marrow, which fills the internal cavities of many bones. These blood cells formed in the bones are the source or the originating point of blood cells in our body. The last is storage, and we discussed a little bit of that in the electrolyte balance. It stores calcium, it stores fat, which is required for energy source. Calcium and phosphate ions are stored in the bone and used as and when needed. So let's understand the classification of bones by shape. Okay. So we're starting with, as you can see in the PowerPoint, there are different kinds of bones, and depending upon the shape they are classified as sutural bone, irregular bone, short bone, or you can say flat bone, long bone, and sesamoid bone. So what are sutural bones? These are small, flat, oddly shaped bones found between the flat bones of the skull. If you look at the clothing that you're wearing right now, you will see two pieces of cloth are worn together, are put together by a thread. This is suturing. They have been sutured together. They have been brought together by a suture. In this case, the bones, these flat bones, are brought together like a bridge. Sutural bones are present. So you can see the different longitudinal sutures are there. There are different kinds of sutures in our body. Irregular bones. Irregular bones have a complex shape with short, flat. Usually they have spiky ends in them, and this example of the best example is the vertebrae. So you can see these are the different spikes in the vertebrae, and these are irregular in shape. As a result, these are called irregular bones. Short bones. Short bones appear like box-like, okay? These are the bones of the carpals in your arm, tarsals in your foot. These are box-shaped. They are clumped together usually, and these are short bones in our body. Then comes the flat bones. The flat bones are thin parallel surfaces which are flattened. They look flat surfaces, and they are present in the cranium or in the skull region. There's parietal bone, there are temporal bone, those are all flat bones. Long bones, they are relatively long in length and slender, consisting of a shaft, which is this portion in here, and we'll learn about that. This portion is called the shaft. These long bones, femur is an example of it. Humerus is an example of it. These are long bones in our body. Sesamoid bones, they look like sesame seed, and patella is one example of the sesamoid bone. So let's now go to understand the types of bones. How are the bone, what are the different types of bone that are present in there? They are of two types, okay? One is called the compact bone, and the other is known as the spongy bone. Compact bone, the name itself should help you to understand. These are dense and solid. Compact bones form a sturdy protective layer that surrounds a central space called the medullary cavity. So when we learn about the bones in the next line, you will see there is a central space which is known as the medullary cavity. The word medulla means inner. So you will see this word medullary or medulla all throughout the anatomy and physiology terms that we go over. See, these medullary cavity or marrow cavity, you can say, are surrounded by the compact bone. It is white, smooth, and solid. 80% of the bone mass are compact bones. Spongy bones, on the other hand, is also known as trabecular bone. Why? Consists of these have open networks and have calcaneus. They have spongy, they have pores in them. Okay, they are porous. 20% of the bone mass is spongy bones. So this actually shows you the entire picture of a structure of a long bone, okay? And if you see it here, you will understand that this long bone has two parts. One is it has the upper end and a lower part, which are known as epiphysis, and a central part, which is the medullary cavity, which is known as the diaphysis or shaft. Okay, epiphysis on the other extreme two ends, and the central part is known as diaphysis, and sandwiched between the diaphysis and the epiphysis is the metaphysis. Okay, the location of these bones or compact or spongy bones varies. Usually the spongy bones are on the extremities and the compact bone is in the center. So this takes us to the next very important part to understand the characteristics of a bone. The bone or bone in general is a connective tissue. Okay, we have learned tissue previously, and so connective tissue is made up of two parts. One is a living unit, the other is a non-living unit. The living unit in this case are the bone cells, and the non-living unit is the matrix. So we learn both of them separately. Here in this slide, you can see it's just a composite of everything, so do you understand the characteristic of the bone. It is made up of the matrix part, which is a non-living unit, which is nothing but deposits of salt. Okay, in the matrix are the bone cells. What are these bone cells called? These bone cells are called osteocyte. Okay, cyte means cells, osteo means bone. So these are bone cells. So mature bone cells are called osteocytes, and they live in the matrix in the pockets called lacuna. So if you think about a swimming pool where you are swimming, so you are the osteocyte, and the water in the pool itself is the matrix. Now, if you extend your arms and the foot, you're trying to reach the corners of the pool. These are processes that extend beyond the lacuna to get in contact with the next lacuna. And these extensions, there are extensions that connect these matrix, and they are known as canaliculi. So I'll show the pictures in the next slide, but I want you to understand that there is a lacuna which is part of the matrix, and in this lacuna are the osteocytes. The osteocytes or the lacuna is connected with the next layer by finger-like passageways, which are known as canaliculi. There are blood vessels surrounding them. There are where exchange of nutrients, waste products, and gases can be done. So next we come to the bone cells. Very, very important slide. Please remember, it's extremely important to remember the different kinds of bone cells. So we are going to learn the bone cells in two parts, 3 and 1. There are 3 cells that we learn in one group, and the other we are going to learn in separately. What are the 3 cells? osteogenic cells, which are the stem cells, also known as osteoprogenitor cells, osteoblast cells, and osteocyte cells, which are the mature cells. We are going to learn osteoclast cells also, but separately. And there's a reason for that, okay? So as we go along, I want you to understand. So if you see this, these are the osteoprogenitor cells. These stem cells divide to produce daughter cells that differentiate to form the osteoblast cells. Osteogenic cells maintain the population of osteoblasts, and they are very, very important in the repair mechanism. Remember, if your bone breaks, these osteoprogenitor cells come into the picture to form new osteoblast cells. Now, when they differentiate, osteoprogenitor cells differentiate to form which is called osteoblast cells. These osteoblast cells are equally important. Why? Because they make the matrix, okay? They start making the matrix. The osteoblast cells are also called the bone-forming cells because they make the matrix. But remember, they are non-mitotic. That means they do not divide. These osteoblast cells basically mature to form the osteocyte cells. Say they do not divide, but they mature into the next form, which is known as osteocyte cell. Going back to osteoblast cells, I want you to understand that these cells produce matrix and able to withstand stretch, stress, and fracture. And they quickly generate increased number of osteoblast cells to rebuild the bone again. If there is a fracture, osteoprogenitor cells come into the picture and osteoblast cells are made to form the repair mechanism. So the main bone, which consists of bone cells and the matrix, is made, or they start making by the osteoblast cells. Gradually, these osteoblast cells then form osteocyte cells. When these are osteocyte cells are former osteoblasts that have become trapped in the matrix and they deposited. So basically, osteoblast cells are making the matrix and they themselves are getting trapped. It's like Frankenstein. He made the robot and that robot, it got trapped with him. It's the same thing. The osteoblast cells, they make the matrix and become trapped in it, and they have to mature, and they do mature to form the mature osteocyte cells. The osteocytes, they reside in small cavities known as lacuna, as we just learned, which have interconnected channels called canaliculi. So they communicate from one lacuna to the other with the help of these finger-like projections that you can see it in here, which are known as canaliculi. So the osteocyte cells, which are the mature bone cells, have two major functions. Number one, osteocytes maintain the protein and mineral content of the surrounding matrix. So the matrix formation starts with the osteoblast cells, but osteocyte cells continue making that. So they maintain the formation of the matrix. And number two, osteocytes take part in the repair mechanism of damaged bone. Also, again, these help if released from the lacuna. Osteocytes can convert to a less specialized type of cell, such as osteoblast or the osteogenic or osteoprogenitor cell, and help in the repair mechanism. So it is not like osteoprogenitor cells from osteoblasts, then osteocytes, but the reverse process can also take place when it is an unusual or the physiological condition demands it to be formed, and that is whenever there's a fracture or too much stress in the bones. Okay. This brings us to the last cell, which is known as the osteoclast cell. As I said, we're going to learn this separately. Why? Because all the above three cells are lined one after the originator is the osteoprogenitor cells, which form osteoblast and osteocyte. But osteoclast cells have a separate class. Okay, they do not originate from the osteoprogenitor cell. They actually originate from a completely different set of cells. Now the question is, these cells are very unusually large, and they have multiple nuclei. They have 3 or 4 nuclei. Sometimes they can have 50 nuclei. The osteoclast cells are bone dissolving cells of the bone surrounding surface. Okay, they could undergo osteolysis, that is breakdown of the bones. So let's understand a little bit more about these osteoclast cells. So osteoclast cells are responsible for osteolysis, which is breakdown of the cells. On the other hand, the osteocyte cells are responsible for formation of the cells, or osteogenesis, that is formation of the cell. So this actually helps us to understand the bone cells. Now comes the non-living part of it, which is known as the bone matrix. The bone matrix is of the osseous tissue or bone tissue by dry weight is about 1/3 organic and 2/3 inorganic matter. Okay, it is made up of this chemical which is known as hydroxyapatite, which is nothing but crystals of hydroxyapatite of calcium phosphate and calcium hydroxide. So you do have to remember hydroxyapatite, but you do not need to remember the chemical composition or the formula for it. So you have to know that hydroxyapatite is made up of calcium phosphate and calcium hydroxide. This brings us to understand the microscopic structure of the bone, which is if you make a section of the bone, how it will look. At the microscopic level, if you see it in here, the basic functional unit of a mature compact bone is called osteon. So if you see these concentric round circle one after the other is present, and each of these concentric circles is known as an osteon. O-S-T-E-O-N, osteon. The other name for osteon is called Hervatian system. So Hervatian system, in an osteon, the osteocytes or the mature bones, which you can see it in here, these dark brown color, these are osteocytes, are arranged in concentric layers around the central part. Okay, in the center there is a central canal, and these are the osteocytes are arranged around them. This system is known as the Hervatian canal because of the arrangement of these cells. This canal consists of one or more blood vessels. As you can see, these are the arteries, veins, you can say, and these arteries and veins or blood vessels carry blood to and from the osteon. Central canals generally run parallel to the surface. You can see these are the central canals, and they are running parallel to the surface of the bone. There is other passages which are known as the perforating canals, you can see, which pretty much run perpendicular to the surface. So these are running parallel to it, and these are running perpendicular to it. So again, these are the basic functional unit of the bones are called osteons. And in the osteon, there's a central canal, and there are concentric circles in which the osteocytes are present. And in these, this central canal has the blood vessels, and which are responsible for bringing in and out blood, and other functions it carries on. And this entire system is known as the Hervatian system. And the central canal in the system runs parallel to the bone. And there is another system which connects these osteons together, which are known as the perforating canals, and they are known as the Volkmann's canals. Okay, so these perforating canals are also called Volkmann's canals. So this is just showing you another view, a much magnified version. So this is, as you can see, the central canal shown in here. And these are the concentric circles in which these are the osteocytes. What are osteocytes again? These are mature bone cells. And you can see these have these, processes that are coming out. These are responsible for connecting one with the other. Okay, these are known as canaliculi, as you can see in there. And these osteocytes are in one lacuna. There are several lacuna, one after the other, and these canaliculi actually helps to connect one with the other. So we just learned this. So the compact bone consists of osteons. We learned this. This is also known as the Hervatian system. And this is the basic functional and the structural unit of the compact bone are nothing but the osteons. So if we go into further to see the histology of the bone, it is in the center, there is the nutrient foramina, which is a hole basically, and there are perforating canals, there are central canal, and these are they all are communicating with each other, and these are the cells, osteocytes, which surround the which form concentric circle in the osteons. So this is basically a synopsis of what we went over, so that you can learn better in an easier manner, so that you know the terms of central canal, Volkmann's canal, osteocyte, osteoclast, and so on. So apart from that, it is important to know that there are certain vitamins which are very important for bone growth. They are vitamin C, vitamin A, and vitamin K. Okay, vitamin C helps, is required for glycogen synthesis and stimulation of osteoblast differentiation. Vitamin A stimulates osteoblast activity. Vitamin K and 12 help to synthesize bone proteins. There are certain hormones which are important for bone growth hormones. Thyroxine, which is basically thyroid hormone produced by the thyroid gland. These help in the bone maturation, bone growth. Estrogen and testosterone, which are produced by the gonads. These are gonadal hormones. They are very important to stimulate osteoblasts. And then there is calcitonin and parathyroid hormone. If you remember, we learned about this in the first chapter, I think. And they also help in the regulation of calcium and phosphate levels. So apart from the vitamins that we learned. There are certain hormones that we learned right now. There is another hormone which is known as the insulin growth factor, which is also required during childhood in order to have a proper bone development. So this actually gives you a chart to understand the name of the hormones, what is the primary source, which gland it is produced by, and what is the effect of it in the skeletal system. So I'm sure all of you have learned and enjoyed this chapter. Go over this chapter thoroughly. Remember, skeletal system is an important chapter, important system in our body in order to keep the homeostasis. Thank you.